gazebo at the highest point in Rockwood Park. Been here before in the winter, but I'm still trying out this flip, so I thought I'd come up and film a little bit of the history. This is an estate that was built in the 1850s for Joseph Shipley and his family. He retired here. It was later inherited by the Springhurst. I just walked over here from Bellevue Park, one of the old DuPont estates that dot this area. And it's about maybe 1.75 miles from where I parked in the center of that park up here to this gazebo. Now, the gazebo is the highest point, although at the moment, with the summer and all these trees, you don't get a lot of view. In the winter it's quite different, but in the winter you have a lot more closeness to the civilization that's here that you wouldn't know about in the summer. Right up here, not far, is I-95. In the winter you can see the cars and trucks whizzing by. Right now you can't see them and they can't see this gazebo. We came up this little trail. It's pretty invisible. That's part of the ice cream stroll. This park used to be where they held the ice cream festival every spring. But when the economy got bad, the county cut that. This is a county-owned park these days. As I said, it was built for Joseph Shipley, who retired here in 1854. He had been born in Wilmington, Delaware, but then decided to retire back home after spending most of his life and career in England, where he made it as a merchant banker and became quite wealthy. I'm going to go down the trail now and take us down to some of the more historic structures that are here. This is the other little half-hidden trail. And if you look back, there's our gazebo. Well, here we are, several minutes later, and about 1 mile in length. And I know you're probably sitting there thinking, well, this looks familiar. It's as we're sitting in a gazebo. And you'd be correct. Except this gazebo sits in the lowest area of this park. Now, as I've said before, I think there was a guy going around in wagons way back in the 1800s selling all these well-to-do people these gazebos. There's one just like it, sits up by the Caulfield House. There's ones over in Bellevue, and there's ones in here. Anyway, this sits down near the parking lot. Some activity today, people walking dogs, people jogging. And what this used to be, look here, this all used to be pasture land. The pasture land surrounds the house. And what they used to have down here were sheep. Because back in the 1800s, sheep were an economic way to keep your lawn mowed. They kept the grass short, they got fed doing it, you didn't have to buy feed, and you could probably make a profit selling the wool, or maybe even the meat, if you like mutton, maybe some lamb. Now the house sits up there on that knoll there, and you may notice along these places there's a lot of stone walls. It's one that goes up here around the mansion. and they go all around the property up in the edge. It's called ha-ha. H-A-H-A. That was a method of keeping the sheep or any other livestock from coming up into the yards of the house. You see, you have the wall there, but right there in front of it you have a ditch, and the ditch goes down, and an animal might graze down into the ditch on the one side, but it was too steep for it to go up the other side, so it couldn't get up into your yard. We come down here, there's the gazebo we were in. We come down here, you see this ruins of a structure. These ruins were actually the oldest building on this property. This was a little house, belonged to the farmer who sold this land to Shipway back then. This is all that remains of it. The Shipways did with this little place was turn it into a playhouse for their son Edward. As you can see, Edward had a pretty nice little place to play. That's what it looked like originally. That's Edward. He was their youngest child. That picture there, here, that is actually Edward Bringhurst III reading a book next to it. There's not a lot left of it today. Just an old ruin now. And over on this side, we have a lake with a nice fountain in it. Can't tell you much about whether that was there originally or not. May have been put here later. Now what we'll do is we'll head up to the main grounds, up the hill to the manse. Now, as we walk up here, there are a few things kind of hidden away. Back in here, there's some kind of root cellar or something. These were methods of storing food, keeping things cool in the summertime back in those days. You could even put ice in them. I understand it would stay cool and help cool it. We'll walk up here to show you a couple other things that I had no idea exactly what their purpose was. One of the trails in here. There's, I believe, about 4 miles of trails. Here we have some kind of a chute. Hard to see, it's all wood. It's down to a big bend down there. So I'm not exactly sure what it was that they shot down there. Here we have some ramps that come up from the pasture up to the yards on the side of the house. And if we walk over here, we'll get a little bit of a view, I guess, of these ha-has. They run all around the place. Down there. Up there is where we came down from at the high point. And now we're going to approach the manse itself. And yes, you may say, what? Another gazebo? That's correct. We were sitting in yet another gazebo. And outside that gazebo, and up there, you can see the main manse of the property. You'll notice there's lights strung in here. Christmas lights. My wife and I came up here last holiday season. They have an open house. And at the open house, many of these trees and these gazebos are lit up, and the house is all decorated for the season. This is call it kind of a new Gothic style. It's one of the few examples of that architecture around here. What surprised us, because they also had the house open and you could go through without paying a fee at Christmas with explanations about things, was the place inside was rather cozy. Not like some of these large places. It's just a bunch of huge rooms that seem cold and bleak. It was quite comfortable. The main family house is on the part you're looking at. There are a lot of rooms for servants over here, and that's a conservatory greenhouse. The end.